It was straight out of the pages of a detective novel. A man bombs a team bus from one of Germany's biggest football clubs, hoping the club's publicly traded stock would get hammered. He had bought put options, which would have paid off big if the shares plunged, regardless of whether players were injured or even killed. It was sheer greed. That was an extreme example, but greed is a natural human trait. It pushes us to strive and secure resources, but it can also be our undoing. Rainer Voss is someone who's familiar with greed. He made a lot of money as an investment banker.
When it comes to financial greed, there's a certain point where it's no longer about money as such. Money stops being something you use to fulfill material needs and becomes a measure of your value as a person. That's one of the defining problems of our time. There's a word for it, financialization. We've come to view many or even all things in our lives only in terms of their monetary value.
Bankers have the reputation of being especially greedy. All the more so since their actions 10 years ago almost caused the entire financial system to collapse. Investors and savers are still feeling the effects. Rainer Voss personally experienced the excesses of greed. He quit when it became too much for him.
It's a parallel world, and you don't care what happens outside of it. To realize that you're harming other people, you need a basic understanding of cause and effect. I'd say most of the people who set off the crisis back then don't have that. You have to realize these are people who no longer take the subway or go to the supermarket. They don't even go to the hairdresser. The hairdresser comes to them. It's a parallel world, a bubble.
More wealth, more luxury, more power. Do we actually ever get enough? Accumulating money and material goods is a source of prestige. The more we possess, the more our value increases in the eyes of others. Our fear of loss of self-worth is also what's behind our greed. In corporations, greed can raise its head in the form of graft, money laundering, or market manipulation. Peter Grassmann was once CEO of the optical company Carl Zeiss and a top executive at engineering giant Siemens. Now he writes books calling for corporations to respect ethical values of honesty and decency.
In many cases, your options are limited. For example, when Mexico raised the kickbacks from 3 to 5%, we said we're not going to play along anymore. That cut Siemens' market share in half, and the Japanese got the deal. One company doing the right thing isn't enough for the world to change.
That's why politicians and business associations have to keep a closer watch on the code of ethics. But in the end, it's up to our individual conscience.
It's very important that every individual business person refuses to play along and rejects these kinds of deals. You have to say no every day. Temptation is always there. It's crucial that you have the willpower to resist.
It gets complicated at the moment when money becomes a fetish and a substitute for love. That's when our human nature and money become linked in a very unhealthy way, and we're likely to do very stupid things. One evening I was with some co-workers at a bar. We'd been drinking, and one of them, who was easily earning $5 million a year, turned to me and asked, "Rainer, what do I have to do to become really rich?" That's when greed becomes disgusting. Really disgusting.
Our hunger for more is enormous. It drives the economy and creates demand for all kinds of products. We just have to learn to keep it under control.